Okay, welcome. My name's Peter Hart. I take public opinion polls. I come from Washington, D.C., and what we're doing tonight is a focus group, and it's nothing more than a discussion among all of us. This is being done for Emory University in Atlanta. It is part of their major new step forward to discuss the important issues of the day, to understand some of the hard conversations that people have to have on various issues. I'm doing this in conjunction with Dan McGinn and company, and he's in Arlington, Virginia. So delighted to have all of you here. Again, no right answers or wrong answers. What I'm looking for are your thoughts, your insights, and your ideas. What I'd like to do is quickly go around the table, start with David, finish with Mary, and ask you to give me your name. First name's fine. Tell me what you do, and how long you've lived in Pittsburgh or the Pittsburgh area. And maybe, I'll ask this, what generation American are you? First generation, second generation, more than second generation, third generation, beyond, whatever. Okay, David, I'm starting with you, giving you no time at all.
I'm David. I've lived in Pittsburgh metropolitan area for approximately 24 years now. I'm in the construction business, and my family has been here since the 1600s.
Okay, good, great. Okay, welcome. Hi, Charles.
Hi, how are you doing? My name is Charles. I've lived in this area for 46 years. I'm a small business owner. Generation-wise, I'm still not sure how many generations.
Okay. Great. Hi, Joyce.
Hi, my name's Joyce. I've been here for 30-some years. I'm an analyst for a large corporation that's well known here, but you probably never heard of it in Washington, D.C. And I'm a second-generation American born here.
Great.
My name is Edwin. I've been living in Pittsburgh for about 25 years. I am, what is it? I'm the son of immigrants, so that's the first or second generation?
Yeah, I guess it'd be second generation. Good. Welcome.
Hello, I'm Tony. Been here my whole life. I'm fourth generation.
Okay.
I'm in the insurance business. I have my own agency.
Great.
And I'm Brian. I've lived here my whole life as well. I have no idea what generation, because I can't think back who was the ones that came over. I'm a sales rep for a veterinarian company.
Were they as good looking as you were? I have no doubt about it. Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Erica. I'm a registered dietitian. I've lived in Pittsburgh for 4 years, and on my mom's side, I'm first generation American. On my dad's side, I think fourth.
Okay, great.
My name is Russell. I lived in Pittsburgh greater than 50 years. I won't disclose how many years, but greater than 50. Probably I'm retired. Been retired for 9 years. Probably the fourth or fifth generation in Pittsburgh.
Great.
Hi, I'm Christina. I am an administrative assistant for a large pharmaceutical company, and I probably, I think, a third generation.
Okay, great.
My name is Kathleen. I work for a social services agency and been around at least 3 to 4 generations, not longer.
Okay, good.
My name is Bart. I work in the business service fields, computers, clouds. I've been in Pittsburgh. I was born and went to school here, but I have moved to different areas, but we're back now for good. My dad's mother's family goes back, and her great son was Matthew Thornton, who was the last signer of the Declaration of Independence. So we go like way back.
So he gets the prize, I think. Okay, go ahead. Hi, Mary.
Hi. I'm Mary. I've lived in Pittsburgh all my life. I work in the insurance industry. I work for a large national broker.
Mm-hmm.
All 4 of my grandparents were born in Europe.
Oh, okay, great. Marvelous. So let me just start out very quickly, lightning round. Give me a word or phrase to describe how you feel things in America are going today. Kathleen, word or phrase?
Bad.
Bad. What's Joyce's word?
Chaotic.
Chaotic. What's Tony's word?
Poorly.
Poorly. What's Brian's word?
Getting better.
Getting better. But what's Bart's word?
Down.
Down. Mary?
Shameful.
Shameful. David?
Great.
Great. Good. Charles?
Uncertainty.
What?
Uncertainty.
Uncertain. Christina?
Scary.
Scary. And would you move your card up just slightly towards me? That's great. Thank you. No, towards this way.
Towards me.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Russell?
Down.
Down. Who'd I miss? Erica?
Tense. Tense.
Tense. Edwin?
Or embarrassing.
Embarrassing. Why embarrassing?
Why embarrassing? Because I feel when you look at America from an objective point from the world stage, I'm not proud of how America's doing or what America's doing.
Yeah. David? Good.
I'm in the construction business. You know, in the past 6 months, construction business in the Pittsburgh area has just really gone off the charts. That's how I'm basing how I think things are going, economically speaking. That was my only.
Okay. Good. And Christina, how are you feeling?
I mean, it's just scary. It just seems like there's so much more anger and hostility in the world nowadays than there was, say, even 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And Russell?
Internal turmoil.
Why explain that to me?
Well, because of the riots, and America is just being gone down the tubes.
Mm-hmm. And Brian?
I look at it from a business side of it too. I think we have more people working, more jobs staying here, opportunity that way. And I think if more people are working, it makes our country better.
Okay. And Edwin, what would you add to all of this?
Add to what
What you've been listening to and what people are saying?
I think that people are. I think there is an element of self-interest. So if you think that you're economically doing well, if you can provide for your children, that is a bonus. But I also think that there should be, is your fellow man doing as well? Is your society or your community, peaceful?
Mary, what makes you feel either confident or uncertain as you look ahead?
I think from a global perspective, I think the world is getting smaller every day, and I think that overseas, I think they're laughing at America. America was the strongest country on the globe, and I think our leadership is shameful. I think the behaviors, I think some of the things that are being put out there, the opinions, some of the acceptable behavior. Charlottesville, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Bart, what are you thinking about in terms of where things are at and confidence and uncertainty?
Well, just historically, we went from post-World War II, within 40 years, this country's become one giant mall. So it's just this total consumerism that our society is obsessed with.
Yeah, and Christina, you're nodding your head in agreement?
Yes, yeah, it does seem like, just everybody's about consumerism, and it controls everybody. Nobody seems to care anymore about having family values. It's all about what we can get, what we can buy, what we can have more of than the other person or what have you.
Yeah, Kathleen, how are you looking at it? How are you, you're a younger generation. What are you thinking about what you see in America today?
I think part of me hopes we can get more younger people in. Well, I know a big part of me hopes that maybe we'll just phase out a lot of the old attitudes and opinions and have a more progressive country. But it takes a lot of time. There's a lot of gerrymandering. There's a lot of roadblocks to that. A lot of voters' rights being restricted. The path to that seems like kind of older folks are holding on really tight to the power they have.
Yeah, and how about you, Erica?
I feel that things are tense recently, especially along racial lines. I don't know if there's more civilian deaths by police, or if there's just more awareness by it, but it's scary that's coming up in the news more often. And I'm imagining similar to when my mom was younger, she lived in Baltimore during the race riots, and I feel like the way that she has described that to me is sort of similar to what's starting to happen now.
Mm-hmm. Russell, you bring a perspective, a little older, and my question is, what are we losing? What did we have 20 years ago, 30 years ago? What's changed? What's been lost in America that we had?
Very good question. Basically, I worked in sales, and I felt I was a productive part of the economy in the Pittsburgh marketplace. I think with the current administration, productivity, more is expected of individuals versus 20 or 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You had pride in what you did. Today, I think there's a lack of that pride.
Let me pick up from Tony. Tony, how do you look at it in terms of perspective and what's changed and what's here?
If I can harken back, without going backwards to my answer when I said poorly, I parse economic success or relative success with the social climate, and sometimes, like during the French Revolution, if you're hungry enough, food overwhelms everything. Well, we're not at that level here in this country, so socially and politically, we're at a crisis, I believe.
And that crisis is what?
We have a crisis of conscience. We have a crisis of responsibility. We have a crisis of consensus. We're more divisive than we've been, probably technically speaking, since the Civil War, if you go by Congress on a federal level's voting.
Let me stop you right there. We are more divisive than we have been at any time since the Civil War, maybe going a little far, but how many would say, I feel this is as divisive a time as ever? I got one. Couple. But most people don't see it that way. That's good. Okay, Edwin, tell me what you're thinking in terms of how you look at things in general.
I think a lot of things that have right now, I look at the underside of the internet, which is basically if you click on the comments section and you read like what's said, there's a lot of identity politics going on. So if you have someone who is more conservative, they use labels, and the other side is also true to impinge on the other side. So what happens is the idea of winning seems to be more important than agreeing. So what happens is, so if I was conservative, I would say, well, the left is like this. These are what the liberals media, or this is what the liberal agenda is. And then on the other side, if you were liberal, you would say, well, these people are whatever racist, or you would identify by making an other. So the idea of Americans is no longer as important in the in the rhetoric. It has become an us against them. So what happens is if someone tries to make a point against your side, you're like, well, you're only saying this because you want to win. So it becomes about winning versus agreement or trying to solve something, because you're automatically antagonizing whatever that other side is.
Joyce, what are you thinking?
I think there's a more expectation of instant gratification. I think a couple generations ago, people in their 20s didn't expect to buy a house, and now everybody, that's part of the reason for the housing crisis. If people really couldn't afford it, they still wanted a house, and I think that's something that's changed over the generations. It's just more instant gratification, and people get annoyed if their cell phone doesn't instantly give them what they want, or if they're taking a flight. There's a comedian does a routine. People are annoyed their flight to L.A. from New York is a half an hour late, and it wasn't that long ago. People went over on Conestoga wagons, and it took them like 6 months to get that far, and half of them died on the way, and they didn't complain about it. And now it's like, my flight's a half an hour late,
That long? Take one, pass the rest down, put your name at the top. Please don't turn the page till we're ready to do so. And everybody got a pen or pencil for themselves in the front? Do we have one for everyone? Good, perfect. Okay, Erica, they wouldn't let you out, leave you out. Okay, turn the page, and what I tried to think about here is a list of people, things that people talk about a lot as it relates to a changing world. And for each of these things, what I'd like to try and understand is it sort of working well at this stage of the game, or as it should? Is it getting a little bit off track, or has it gone completely off the rails? So these are sort of rights and areas that we talk about, and if you just X each of them, depending upon your answer.
Are we speaking like as recently as like what's going on this year with this kind of stuff?
Yeah. But bring a perspective to it. Don't just take this week. But in general, as you look at this, taking into account where we are today, yeah, this is something that seems to be working as it should. This is something that seems to be getting a little off track. Or if this is something that's really gone off the rails and it's just a mess. Okay, everybody got theirs? Let me not try and go through all of these things, but let me just start with dealing with the environment. How many people say, yeah, this seems to be working about as it should be? We've got 2, 4, 5. How many say it's going completely off the rails? Okay, we have 3 people, and the other 4 would be in the middle. How about on immigration? How many people would say, yeah, that's working about as it should? Nobody. Okay? How many say it's getting a little off track? 2 and 3 or 5. And everybody else at the table, 7 people say, hands up, that this is just all off the rails. Okay? And how about the ownership of firearms? How many say, yeah, it's working about as it should? We've got 2, 4, 6, 7 people. How many say it's going completely off the rails? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. Okay, so tell me, interesting, immigration regulations. 7 people say it's completely off the rails. 5 say it's off track. Tell me why you're feeling that way. Anybody can jump in. Help me out.
Well, I've been.
Go ahead. Go for it.
Sorry, I didn't use my hand. Well, I've been listening a lot and reading a lot about Sheriff Arpaio, and that's craziness. Like, I just don't think that what he is doing with immigrants to target people unfairly, racial profiling, to put them in what he made equivalent to be a concentration camp, like, that is not how we should be dealing with immigration at all. And I'm for perhaps just citizenship and accepting everybody and not just discriminating people based on where they're from.
Okay, good. That's Kathleen. Anybody else? Hands up. Yep, Brian.
I just think if somebody wants to be here, they need to come here by the proper channels. Mm-hmm. I understand that things may be horrible in their country they're coming from, they're trying to escape, and that's fine. But if it's done the right way through the proper channels that are put in place, whether they are right or wrong at the time, but it's the channels that are in place, that's how you need to come in. That's how we would have to do it if we wanted to get to another country. So I think they've got to reel that in. And,
so that's where we're off track or off
right.
the rails.
We have too many people that are here not the right way.
Okay, good.
If you get down to the west side of Phoenix, you feel a whole lot differently about Sheriff Joe Arpaio. I'm not a big fan of him. I think he does. He's not very good on civil rights, but that is a very dangerous area. It's so close to the border that, if he didn't do that and people started getting robbed and killed, then they'd be calling for his head too. And
Okay, good. That's
But I
Bart.
don't even like them. I don't like the guy. So.
Okay, but your perspective. Good. Who else wants to weigh in? Not necessarily.
Peter, I
Yeah.
think, well, you call me?
Yes, Tony.
I think we should parse between legal and illegal immigration. To my thinking, illegal immigration is not immigration. It's lawbreaking. While I believe in perhaps certain liberalization of immigration rules and certain other areas that have a little more scrutiny because of statistical risk, I don't believe we should have no immigration, and I don't believe we should just take all comers.
Okay.
It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, and I'm going to come back to a lot of these questions. Charles, just a quick point of view on this?
Oh, I'm kind of torn between that for a lot of different reasons. I think that the idea of America has always been to embrace immigration.
Yeah.
I do agree that there is a legal way to do it, but I'm in disagreement with massive deportations. I think that, just to get back to the other question about America, the idea of America was so much greater than the arguments that we're having now. The idea of America was all-inclusive. We're all immigrants. Some of us came here illegally too, but we found a quick path to citizenship. And I think that when you have a large segment of the population here already that are law-abiding citizens, that are working, that are raising their children, to indiscriminately deport them is a crime of its own.
Okay, and I'm going to come back to this I'm going to segue away from it, but I want to come back to it in a big fashion. David, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I think it's a very challenging issue, and you look at the tensions between people that are coming from other countries and the people that have been here. We don't want them here, some people might say. The 1800s, when the railroads were being built in Pennsylvania, the Irish came over, and they were your cheap labor. They were your Mexicans, so to speak, at the time. And no one liked them either. No one liked the Irish that came in because they stole all their good jobs. So there's always been that tension. We do need to work through it. We do need to work through, like Tony said, within the rules and regulations of the laws that are set in place. If we don't like those, change those laws.
Mary, quick point.
I think we need immigration reform. I do
Okay.
not believe in mass deportation. I think that's wrong. I think we need to come up with a plan to allow a lot of these illegal immigrants to come forward and become citizens.
Okay, great. This I'm going to hold. I've got a lot of other topics I'm going to get to, and then I'm going to come right back around to immigration. But good start on an important topic for us. I'm going to do something. Go around the table. I'm going to start with Mary, and I'm only going to ask you to do one thing. Give a grade to how you see Congress is doing at this stage. It can be anything from A to F. Okay, everybody got their mind? How's Congress doing today?
I'd say a D.
Definitely an F.
A D.
Give them a C.
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 D.
C minus.
C.
F.
D.
Okay, so nobody has them on the honor roll. Biggest complaint about Congress is?
Being unable to cross across,
Work
Party
across party
lines.
lines. Biggest complaint, Joyce?
Same thing, it's all partisan politics
Okay,
instead of trying to solve
biggest
the
complaint,
issue.
Brian?
They want to get reelected, and that's it.
Russell, biggest complaint?
Bipartisan politics.
David, biggest complaint?
They're not getting anything done.
Okay, good. Okay. Onward and upward. I had a feeling we'd get that. I'm interested in one other thing. How many believe that the next generation is going to be better off than our generation, as I would put it, your generation? How many think that we're going to hand the baton forward to the next generation and things will be better for them? How many agree that that's going to happen? I got one. 1.5. Okay. You don't think so, Edwin? Why not?
Because already, just today, even like people don't travel anymore, like internationally. It's harder to get a visa. It's harder to travel around. I mean, that's a difference from something that I'm witnessing in the past 10 years.
Okay? Why is the next generation of Americans not going to be better off, Joyce?
I think it's just going to be harder to maintain an average middle class lifestyle. Instead of just a house and a phone, you have to have a smartphone and satellite radio and a car that's a hybrid, and it's just like more and more and more.
Or why is the next generation not going to be better off? We've had 13 generations of America that each time we pass the baton forward. I'm hearing that it's the first time we don't think we're going to pass the baton forward. Why?
The baby boomers blew it.
Okay. And so the reason the next generation is not going to be better off is?
Well, they're just not going to have the type of jobs that enable one earning parent to go out and earn money and the other one stay at home and raise the children.
Okay.
Whether that's male or female.
Christina?
Yeah, I mean, everything is, I mean, even now, you almost have to have 2 jobs in this day and age, and I don't see it getting much better, and everybody's going to have a college degree. At this point, a bachelor's is almost equivalent to what a high school diploma was 20 years ago.
Brian?
A lot of it, I think, goes back to everybody wanting instant gratification. Everyone has to work, and yes, you miss out on having both parents out working and kids being in daycare or with babysitters, and they don't.
So, Erica, where do we most desperately need to change? What's in need of change in order to improve America?
You mean to give the next generation a...
Yeah, but you're looking from a younger perspective. What needs to most change in order to continue or rebound to the greatness that America has been?
I think that our possibilities, like with technology, with automation, has outpaced our thoughts on how to deal with it. If we were at the same standard of living as in even the 1970s or 80s, we'd all be working 5-hour work weeks because so much is automated. But at the same time that more is possible, the standard of living is increasing the same way. And I think that there's policies and laws that are outdated, as well as just thought processes that need to catch up.
Brian, what we need, what needs to change, what needs to be developed?
I think people need to be able to have conversations and talk. I mean, we talk about Congress working across party lines. We talk about people in this room having differences. If you can have a conversation about it, everybody's entitled to their opinion. As long as you can explain that opinion, explain why you feel, but also be understanding to why somebody who feels differently than you do doesn't mean that they're wrong.
Yeah, you're saying there needs to be more tolerance.
More tolerance, more communication.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the biggest things. I mean,
Charles, what would you add?
Well, I think that if we find the elected officials to go into Congress and create an atmosphere of bipartisanship where we could pretty much deal with the issues that we're dealing with now, like immigration, universal health care, education, job creation. I don't see why living in the greatest country that's ever been, that within the next 40 years we're going to have a complete societal collapse. I don't believe that. I'm more optimistic than that. I do believe that if we come to agreements now, and I have hopes for even this president, maybe we get something done, and you deal with those issues, that we'll be leaving the world a better place.
Okay. Good.
It's just my opinion.
Anybody else wants to quickly get in? Kathleen?
Just I want to mention like the tangibles of a livable wage and affordable housing and renewable energy sources and like an environment that will still be here and be livable and be conducive to safety for everybody. This is what we're missing and what we need.
Okay, good. Let me switch. And what I'm going to do is go to the lightning round. Here's how it works. Okay? I'm going to give you the name of a individual. I want you to give me a word or a phrase to describe your feelings about that person. So, if I were to say to you, George Herbert Walker Bush, don't say to me, former president. I know he's the former president of the United States. Instead, I would want your feelings about him. So you would say about George Bush 41?
Criminal.
What? Okay. What would you say?
I have no feelings for him.
Bush 41.
I'm the same as Mary.
Okay.
A
Okay.
little in the back.
Okay. So we'll go into this. Okay. Right. Sort of took me aback on this. That's all right. Hey.
Feelings are never wrong.
Okay. High five. I agree with you. Feelings are never wrong. Okay. So here we go. And I'm going to go around the table. So think about it, and I'm going to go straight through. Don't hesitate. Just straight through. I'm going to ask you for a word or a feeling about Donald Trump. A word or a phrase. Everybody ready? Go. Start again. Yeah.
I'm trying to be polite.
Well, let me just do it. Get your word or your
Okay.
phrase, and then we'll go straight around. No hesitation.
Outrageous.
Dishonest.
Disappointed.
Narcissist.
Abject disappointment.
Unique.
Not ready to be president.
Off the scale.
Crazy.
Completely unfit to be president.
Unbelievable.
Contemptible.
Explain to me, Russell, what you say.
Off the scale. Well, the thing that drives me crazy is all the tweeting he does. I don't pay any attention to it, but it's in the news. It's on the newscasts every day, evening and night. My wife watches it. It drives me crazy because the television is on all the time. And it's, why doesn't he just quit that tweeting?
Okay, Christina, what was your word?
Crazy.
Why?
Well, that was a lot of it. The tweeting, it has to stop.
Did you vote for him?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. Tony,
Yes,
what was your word?
Abject disappointment.
You
Extremely disappointed.
You voted for him?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And why abject disappointment?
Because regardless of what he truly wants to get done, whatever that may be, he has got to be his own worst enemy. He couldn't be any worse at achieving goals in politics. I can't imagine.
Brian, your word was
Unique.
unique. And what were you trying to say? Were you fudging or?
I did vote for him
Yep.
because I looked at it that he was a businessman and he got stuff done in business.
Yep.
And I thought maybe the country, that's what the country needs. We need somebody to look at it from a business standpoint. We are failing. How do you stop a failing business? He would know how. I'm still going to sort of hold out judgment. It is short into his term, and I'm hoping things can turn around, but it's unique right now.
David, your word was?
Outrageous.
Why? Did you vote for him?
I did.
Okay. Outrageous because?
Everything he does is outrageous. Outrageously good, outrageously bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's no in between. In the 100 days of his presidency, there's a lot of things that he's accomplished, but he just doesn't have that soft touch
Okay.
to sell you on what he wants to accomplish.
Okay, good. I'm going to run through a few other names very quickly. I'm not going to call on you for everyone. I'm just going to jump around. Rex Tillerson.
Ugh.
Rex Tillerson. You know who he is?
Yeah.
Well, word or phrase?
Disappointing.
Disappointing.
Thug.
Thug. Okay.
Worldly.
Worldly.
Disappointing.
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 Why disappointing?
I think just thought there would be more substance, more. He'd be able to do more. I mean, I scratch my head. I mean,
Okay, and Russell, same point.
I have no clue, basically. Just disappointed in what I hear in the press. Nothing concrete.
Okay. Charles Schumer, word or phrase? You know?
You betcha. I have a lot of respect for him.
Okay. Charles Schumer, Joyce?
Don't know the guy.
Okay. Who knows him? Okay.
Zionist.
What?
Zionist.
Okay.
He's trying.
Okay.
He's the doppelganger for Trump.
Okay. Anybody else?
no opinion.
He's disappointing as well.
Okay, good. Next person, Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell, Brian. No point of view.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Spokesman.
Spokesman.
Perhaps in a fight he can't win.
Okay.
Disgusting.
Disgusting. Why?
I just think his morals and ethic are just terrible.
Okay.
I think he's strong.
Strong. Okay. Edwin?
I think he's a hypocrite.
Hypocrite because?
Because like everything that he's basically doing things that he's accusing people of doing things that he himself did while another administration was in office.
Okay. Mike Pence.
Non-existent.
Mike Pence.
Puppet.
Mike Pence.
Scary.
What?
Scary.
Scary.
Waiting in the wings.
Reasonable.
Quiet.
Next president.
Mike Pence.
Puppet again.
Dangerous for women.
Frightening.
Puppet. This
Okay. John Kelly. How many people know John Kelly?
General.
General John Kelly. Okay. Word or phrase?
Strong.
Strong. Word or phrase?
Reliable.
John Kelly.
Reliable.
Anybody else? John Kelly.
In over his head.
Babysitter.
Babysitter. Edwin.
Finger in a dike.
Finger in the dike. Okay. Paul Ryan, Russell.
Impressive.
Okay. Paul Ryan, Christina.
Bony.
Paul Ryan.
Almost seems like an instigator.
Okay. Paul Ryan.
He's a leader.
Leader.
He floats in the wind.
Okay. Good. Go ahead, Joyce.
Politician.
Edwin.
Opportunist.
Okay. Tony.
Effective politician.
Okay, good. I'll go around very quickly. I'm going to start with Mary and go the other way around. Put it in your head. Robert Mueller. And if you don't know, just say don't know. Robert Mueller.
Watchdog.
Serious.
Hurry up.
Don't know.
Don't know.
Don't know.
Don't know.
Hate to have his job.
Hopefully effective.
Don't know.
No opinion.
I don't know.
Okay, good. Okay. And no matter what one would say, tell me what would you give Donald Trump credit for? You know, no matter, what anybody may say about the president, what would you give Donald Trump credit for? Tony?
Perhaps he's salvageable because there is a germ of decency in him in regards to being America-centric.
Okay, good. What would you give him credit for?
He is exactly what this specific time in history of this country you would expect our president to be.
Okay. Kathleen, you're not with him, but would you give him credit for something?
I feel like seeing him as president has empowered me to call my representatives and become more active to make sure nobody like him was
Okay.
ever in power again.
Russell?
Trying, and I'll put that in quotes, to make America great.
Okay. Brian, what would you give him credit for?
I was going to say, I think deep down inside he's trying, I don't always agree with the way he goes about it, but I think he does want this country to be great. Maybe there's personal motives for his businesses involved, but I truly think he wants this country to be the best it can be.
David.
I think economically, there's a perception, may it be only a small group of people, but there's a group of people that perceive that Donald Trump is making their businesses great.
Okay. Charles.
Well, I think Donald Trump is nothing more than an entertainer. I think that he plays to a certain base, and I don't think that he's concerned about the country at all. I really don't.
Okay. Let me turn it around. How's he been a biggest disappointment to you, Brian? You voted for him.
Mm-hmm.
You're still with him. Let's say trying to be with him. What would you say is the biggest disappointment to you?
Stay off of Twitter. Don't attack those that attack you. People are going to disagree. Like I said earlier, have a conversation. I mean, if Mary got mad at me for something right now, why do I attack Mary? I don't. I listen. Just, you have a job to do. People are always going to, no matter what job you have, who you are, people are going to doubt you. Understand that and keep going forward. Don't, I was going to say, stoop down to their level.
Russell, what's most disappointed you?
Well, as I mentioned before, tweeting, and I think he publicizes too much of his personal opinions on things that ought to be kept behind the scenes and out of the public.
Christina, you voted for him. What disappoints you?
His speaking out of tongues, and he just needs to learn to mind his P's and Q's and have somebody like write him something and quit. I don't know.
Oh, and me, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the comment. Well,
What most disappoints you?
what most disappoints me is he's such an incredibly flawed individual that has articulated many of the values that I hold dear, and the messenger is overwhelming the message. I wish he was on the opposite side of where I hold dear, because it would be better for the causes that I like.
David, what disappoints you, if anything?
As much as I thought he would be a quick learner and delegate to top-notch individuals, he hasn't done that.
His cabinet selection was terrible. I mean, his cabinet selection is all people that.
You figured as a business person he would pick the most top-notch person for the job.
It's the same guys, different suits.
So, that's disappointing.
You can make a quick switch. If you
Do we have a commercial timeout?
The one thing I can do is, does anybody need water in here?
Yeah.
Okay, if I could get some water, maybe half a dozen would be great. And what I'm going to do, because we're going to go to a question, I want to go around the table. Can we do that?
1 second.
Okay, good.
You want me to grab water?
What?
You want me to grab?
Yeah. You're responding. Okay. You're too valuable in the room, David. Without you. Joyce, you're a Democrat. What most disappointed you in Donald Trump so far?
Well, he wrote that book, The Art of the Deal, and he's supposed to be such a good businessman, and he has no negotiation skills, no interpersonal skills. He just barks orders at people. So I guess he was really just the boss and used to giving orders and having them obeyed, because he has no political skills whatsoever.
Okay. We up and running?
We are.
Okay. I'm going to start with Mary, and we're going to go around. So please think of your answer. This is around the horn. And that is, give me one thing, good, bad, funny, sad, that stands out in your mind from the first 200 days of Donald Trump's presidency. One thing that's either good, bad, funny, or sad that sticks out in your mind from Donald Trump's first 200 days. Everybody ready?
Hypocrisy.
Change in healthcare.
how hard it is to keep up.
Changing the healthcare.
He likes to fire people.
He's so rarely diplomatic, and the first time that he was when he said, you know, there's violence on both. There's violence on both sides. There's good and bad people on both sides. I thought that was a very strange time to start being diplomatic.
Tweeting.
Calling CEOs on the carpet, asking them to keep jobs here.
That attendance matters to everyone but him.
How flaky he was on the Affordable Health Care Act, that he would say, this is it, we're done, and then he'd bring it up again, then he'd say, we're done, and then he'd bring it up again. He's just flaky.
President Trump is fundamentally dishonest.
Disappointing in how he's learned in his first 100, 200 days of putting deals together. Hasn't worked.
Okay. If you could whisper one thing into his ear so he could hear you, nobody else can hear it. What's the one thing you would whisper into his ear so you could tell him something? Something personal? Yeah, I mean, when I say personal, that you'd be telling it to him. You're not trying to necessarily make a statement. You're just saying it to him. Christina, what would you whisper into his ear?
Chill out, man.
What would you whisper into his ear, Russell?
Quit tweeting.
What would you whisper into his ear, David?
Stop picking on the media. Love them.
Brian, what would you whisper into his ear?
Start listening to other people.
Tony, what would you whisper?
Park the ego.
Bart, what would you whisper into his ear?
First punch doesn't hurt too bad.
Mary.
Listen to women.
Joyce.
Resign.
Charles.
I would tell him that he's not the most important man in the room.
Edwin.
That he represents all Americans.
Kathleen.
I hope he rots in jail.
Erica.
That as he is making his very core base stronger, it's getting the rest of people to fall away from him.
I'm going to try an unusual question here. I always look at a new president much as I look at a new car. You know, when you go in and you get in right in the showroom, it is shiny, it is completely dent-free, it looks great, it's marvelous, and, you know, the engine roars, everything feels good. And then, you know, after a period of time, your opinion sort of changes. Tell me about the Trump presidency in terms of a car. In other words, how do you see the Trump presidency 200 days in? What's it look like? What's it look like, Edwin, 200 days in?
It looks like he's trying to compensate for something.
Yeah, let me refocus
Okay.
for the we'll sort of start again. In other words, describe it in terms of a car
Okay.
rather than in terms of here's who he is. So
It's like
you're looking at this car. What's the car look like 200 days in?
200 days in. It's not running well. It's basically a really shiny car that doesn't run.
Joyce, tell me about this car.
This, it was on the Lemon lot, but the sign was only on one side, so some people came at it and they didn't see the lemon sign and they went and bought it, and they're just finding out it's a lemon now. And other people knew it was a lemon all along.
Charles.
Well, I see a shiny new car with a bunch of mechanics around it that they can't fix.
Bart.
He's dentally ill.
But talk about the car.
Dents. Like
Okay.
a dent in a car.
Okay.
Dentally ill.
What about it, Kathleen?
I think, like Joyce, I think it always had its flaws front and center and super apparent for those who were looking for them.
Christina.
I'm leaking some oil, and I think I've got a couple flat tires.
Okay. Brian, what do you think of this car?
A couple dents here and there, but the mechanics just don't know what exactly is wrong.
But there is something wrong with it?
There's something.
It's a fatally
It's
flawed
not-
car.
I don't want to say it's fatally flawed yet, but it's not running the way it should be, or
And
the,
so,
the new car should, but they don't know exactly why.
Okay, Tony?
Utilizing the metaphor of cars, we thought he was concourse, but he's just a roller.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think we were told that it was going to be a Cadillac Escalade, but in reality, it's a pickup truck with a gun rack in the back, and it's falling apart going down the road.
one of them donut wheels.
Okay, anybody else? Yeah.
I think that not all the car parts quite fit with what it needs, and they just keep getting replaced. Replacing parts looking for that right fit.
Okay, good. Anybody else?
Misfiring the engine.
Misfiring engine.
And
Okay.
like Ralph Nader would say, unsafe at any speed.
Okay, good. And if they've got water, that can come in. The other thing that you brought up that I really wanted to touch upon before we move on, and that is so many people everywhere I go mention Donald Trump and tweeting. And I'm interested why you think it's important, and what does it tell you about Donald Trump in terms of this? Because obviously, it wasn't available to presidents before Barack Obama. What are you trying to say about tweeting and why it's important, and what it means? Why is it? Yeah, Christina.
I mean, on one hand, it's pretty cool that a president can instantly send a message to all of his followers or what have you, and he wants to be, I guess, hip and with the young folks and whatnot, which is great. But of course, there has to be some restraints on how you use that sort of thing, and maybe he doesn't realize how powerful that is, and then again, maybe he does, and that's also a problem.
And does it tell you something about him?
He apparently has a lot of time on his hands. I think he should.
How about it?
Yeah, Mary.
I just think that tweeting is just such a singular voice.
And narcissistic.
It's what's going on in your head right now. It's what you think. Most politicians and most high-level diplomats have handlers, and they have a group of trusted advisors that advise them before they go out and spew these opinions. There is no. It's just he spews things that he doesn't even think about them. He doesn't consider them, and he's not a single voice. He is the voice of America. He's the voice of millions, and it's just this singular thought process that just keeps coming out of his mouth. It's like, what are you thinking?
On board.
He has no social skills. It's almost like he never was taught the right way to act. And it doesn't surprise me having a silver spoon in his mouth like he did. They're all like that.
But what does it tell you about him and his presidency?
I just think that he when he ran initially, he never thought he was going to get elected.
No.
And he was as shocked as anybody, I think.
Yeah. Hey, David, does his tweeting tell you anything? Is there anything to be learned from this?
I think his tweeting is for his own ego.
Yeah.
And I think he tweets to manipulate the media and his followers either one way or the other. He'll throw out a tweet and see what the media comes back at.
Yeah.
And he might be sitting there laughing, going, ha 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 ha.
Yeah. You want to add anything to it, Charles?
I honestly believe that one of the things that I saw in Trump was, and I thought I kind of agreed with him, was he says, well, I don't want the enemies to know what I'm thinking. Well, my God, Twitter certainly does that. It opens up a door to the psyche of a person. And when you're dealing with professionals like, let's say, Putin over there in Russia, where, those types of things, these guys study and analyze, psychological thinking. They're able to break this man down, just like we're able to break him down. And the fact that he uses Twitter as a weapon instead of using it as a means to enlighten the people or show your support for the horrible things that are going down in Texas. Hey, we pray for you. Or saying he's using it as a weapon against perceived enemies. He uses words like, these are my enemies. They're Americans. So he's dividing the country with Twitter. Tweet after tweet after tweet. And he openly lies with misinformation using Twitter based on his own personal beliefs, not based on facts. These are my personal beliefs. You know, there's certain things that I will not tweet I know it's going to upset people, so I'm not going to say it.
Tony, just like your reaction quickly, and could we get water in here? That'd be great. Okay, Tony? Did you just listen to Charles?
Yes, I wholly agree. He's such a flawed individual who thinks that so much of the world is hanging on his every word, and they may be, but for a completely different reason that he thinks. He makes a travesty of the office, and he, instead of being a person building a consensus, he's divisive. As divisive as can be.
Okay, so let me have you turn now to your next page in your handouts. It's handout C. Anybody else? Okay, handout C is this, which is a series of I think a dozen different issues. And what I'd like you to do is, in column 1, what 2 issues are most important to you? In column 2, I'd like you to tell me which you feel most confident that President Trump will do a good job on, and what 2 do you feel least confident that he'll do the best on or do a good job on. So what are the most important 2 that you feel most confident on, and 2 that you feel least confident? Just mark them down and then we'll talk about it.
Can you get this display off? I can just keep it. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Thanks for...
Okay, everybody there?
No.
Very quickly, give me an important issue that Erica chose. What letter?
I think an important issue is dealing with the environment and climate change, K.
Okay, K. Anybody else choose that as one of the most important? I got 2. Okay. Give me an issue, Christina.
Dealing with terrorism and ISIS.
Okay, and that is I. How many chose I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people. Got it. Who else has got an issue?
Building the economy.
Building the economy. How many people chose that? Building the economy, which is
G.
G. How many had that? 1, 2, 3 people had that. Okay, what else you got?
Dealing with North Korea and the military.
North Korea. How many people? L. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Anybody else missing one?
J.
J. Anybody else have J? Middle East. 1. Okay. Anybody else got something?
C.
C. Okay. Budget. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Anybody else got one? What?
H.
H. Racial tensions. Anybody else have that as a central issue? 1. Anybody put down D, dealing with Russians and and Putin? 0. Okay. Trade issue. Okay. Am I missing anything? Okay. Let me just ask the question of North Korean military. If you chose that, why? Yep, go Bart.
I just think the way that Kim Jong Il is testing Trump, that any kind of mistake at all will dictate whether his presidency is successful or not. I mean, what they did yesterday was that's war. You sent a missile over Japan.
Yep. Tony.
Same reason, and I've expanded just a scooch. The two things I picked were the only two things I thought could cause world war, so it overwhelmed all the other important issues.
Okay, good.
They're all important.
Russell, do you want to add?
On dealing with North Korea, I don't think the sanctions that are being put in place are really working effectively. And is Russia and China behind this building?
I think that issues of that caliber should be dealt with by a president. They can't be dealt with by consumers and typical Americans. They need to be dealt with at the presidential level. And he's the only person who can really deal with them.
Okay, good. Let's go on to number 2. Where do you feel most confident that President Trump will do a good job? Well, let me start. Brian, what letter?
A.
A. Trade issues, how many agreed with that one? 1, 2, 3, good. Who else has got one? What you got, Christina?
I've got handling budget issues.
Okay. How many say C? 1, 2, 3, good. What else? Charles?
I feel that he can deal with terrorism and ISIS.
Okay. How many say terrorism and ISIS? I've got 3. Anything else that gets a
G.
G? Anybody else say rebuilding the economy? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Anybody else got something? Why do you feel confident that he can do good things on the economy?
It's a business type thing, and that's all he knows.
Okay. Why can he do well, Erica?
I agree that I chose budget issues and the economy because he understands money more than some of the other things on this list.
Okay, good. Russell?
He's a businessman.
Okay, good. Anybody else on the economy? Okay. Okay. Least confident. What do you feel least confident of, Bart? What letter?
Dealing with North Korea.
Okay. Dealing with North Korea. That is L. How many say I feel least confident about that? We've got 3 people. Okay. Anything else that you feel least confident about?
F.
K. Environment. How many say least confident? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Anybody else got one?
B.
Dealing with the Middle East.
Which letter?
J.
J. Anybody else in terms of J, the Middle East? Couple people. Okay. What else?
H.
Racial tensions.
Okay. How many say he's not good at dealing with racial tensions? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Anything else?
F.
F. Anybody else say building respect around the world? And Christina and Joyce. Okay. Anybody else?
D.
B.
B. How many had B? Social issues. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Good. And tell me those people who are most concerned about his dealing with racial tension. Why do you feel that way? If you marked it, why do you feel that way?
Well, I feel that way because, I don't think that he's a racist, but I think that he's a sympathizer. I think that he lacks the moral ability to bring people together because he's a diverse person by nature. I think he feeds off of that. I just don't think that he has the temperament to do so.
Okay, good. Nicely said, Charles. Anybody else? If you put it down, why?
I didn't put it down.
Okay, but do you want to comment on
I'd
it?
love to put it down.
Okay.
Yes. He is almost totally lacking in empathy. So that's why he scores so poorly on all these issues, just about. He cannot put himself in the other person's moccasins, whether it be racial or international or socioeconomic. He's incredibly obtuse.
That's it.
And I voted for him.
Anybody else on racial issues? Who else put it
I
down?
think a lot of his supporters feel energized because he might not overtly seem racial, but I think he doesn't want to alienate them. So they feel some kind of passive support from him.
Edwin, you wanted to comment?
Oh, I mean, he was actually sued by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and he lost, and then he broke it again, and he was sued again. I mean, that's racism, based on racism.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? And the other thing that you mentioned is environment. Why do you feel that way about climate change? Brian?
Like, I don't, excuse me, I don't think he feels that it's true. I mean, you can find reports on both sides. Some it is true, it's not true. I honestly think he doesn't think that it's true, so it's not going to be something he's going to focus on.
Does that worry you at all? Or is that not one of your issues?
It's not one of my issues because I'm sort of on the fence that I'm not sure it's not a made-up problem.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that'll be tomorrow night's
Yes.
discussion. Okay. Anybody else have something on climate change or the environment? Edwin?
I mean, I had it, but it's because, I mean, he literally tweeted that climate change is a conspiracy by the Chinese. So,
Plus, he's destroying the EPA.
right, and it's like, and it's
EPA,
basically,
shameful.
it's EPA, you know.
I want to switch our topic to come back to the important issue of immigration, which you were talking at the beginning. But before I get there, there's really one question. I mean, I come in to a focus group. I don't know what to expect. You have a dozen smart people, but you don't really know what's going to happen. And we made a decision when we did this. We said, look, we don't want all people who voted for Hillary Clinton, and we don't want all people who voted for Donald Trump or everybody who voted for the third party and the Green Party, etc. And what we wanted to do, as much as anything, is to sort of have a conversation. But what has taken my breath away in this conversation is Donald Trump tells us the base is with him, that he has his core supporters or whatever. Well, I'm looking at a half a dozen of you, and I haven't heard any defense of Donald Trump. And, you know, I think you would say, this sounds like a made-up group. You know, why aren't you with them, David? What are you trying to tell them?
I traditionally am going to use the term give the guy a chance. Okay? Example. I didn't vote for Barack Obama. Okay? Some people did, some people didn't. The whole time in his presidency, I just said, give the guy a chance. I didn't vote for him, but give him a chance. Let's see what good can come of it. Okay? And some good came, some good didn't come. I look at the same with Donald Trump. And I was kind of hoping, you know, the first 100 days they would get a little more press out of some things that he did that was good. That really didn't happen. And his learning curve has been a little disappointing.
Okay.
Meaning he hasn't caught on like everyone has said here, you know. If he did this, he'd be okay. He isn't doing that.
Tony, you voted for him.
Yes, sir.
What are you telling him? What are you telling America? What are you telling me?
Well, I surely am not his base, even though I voted for him. It was more, just to be honest, an anti-Hillary vote.
Mm-hmm.
I was very disappointed that either of those two folks were our candidates. Mm-hmm. And I have a personal belief that a country gets the presidential candidates and president it deserves. So we must have been at a very low moral ebb to have these two Hobbesian choices.
Agreed.
So it wasn't eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I definitely leaned a little bit more towards Donald's articulated, but not truly, his values.
You got the hand motions down there.
Right. Man's was bigger than his, though, I'm sure. Thank you.
This was the first election that
Yeah, I'm going to stay for a second. Let me just stay
Right.
going around.
I'll try not to be
back
so
you,
doggone
Bart.
long-winded, I apologize. But there is, I got to say, there is a base. I don't think anyone's here. If one of his base, and I'm familiar with a number of them, were in this room, they would be vociferously defending him. And I believe that some of them are actually good people. They're not. I'm not absolutely not going to demonize them. That they're missing a lot of the points that most of us feel are not subtle.
Okay.
They're still going with what he said, not what he's doing.
Brian, you voted for him. You're a good Republican?
I, sort of like Tony, my vote was more, I didn't want more of what we already had.
Uh-huh.
I would not have been my first choice of a candidate, but I could not, and I'll admit, I'm a registered Republican, but I vote on who I think is best. And if there would have been a Democrat up that I thought was going to be better, no problem making that vote.
And
but it
why
was
is
the lesser
he-
of two evils.
And why has he lost you instead of? I mean, you're still giving him a chance. You want to see what happens, but why doesn't he have you in the first 200 days? What is it that has left you behind?
Just some of his, for lack of a better term, antics. I look at a president to be presidential, someone who is calm, focused. I mean, I'm sure people said, I mean, I was young, but you know, Ronald Reagan came as an actor, but he goes down as one of our better presidents. I thought, okay, this guy, he's not a politician, but in some aspects, he's almost turning into a politician, just in a different way. He's saying what he thinks his base of things wants to hear or whatever, but he's let me down.
Russell, you voted for him?
Yes, yes, I did. I liked his platform, Make America Great Again, keeping jobs in the United States, attacking, I think, those countries that we provide defense and making them pay for it, rather than always being the U.S. paying to put troops in NATO. And
So the question I have for you is, why doesn't he have you today in the same way?
I guess I question what he's trying to do and don't fully understand it. You know, I think the philosophy to give the guy a chance, it's only the first 200 days to try to right the ship, where that happens. I mean, he's in for 4 years unless something else happens. So we'll see what time plays out.
Okay. Christina?
Yeah, I wanted to say, I mean, we know he's a nut. Everybody knew he's a nut. But there comes a point in time where you need to become professional. He's not even professional, let alone presidential. If he could at least just become professional, it would be a little better, you know.
Bart, you wanted to add something. You didn't vote for him, and you didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, right?
That's
You
correct,
voted
yes.
for
Jill Stein.
Jill Stein.
But
Okay,
that's not unusual for me,
Right.
actually.
Okay.
The third party,
but you wanted to say one thing about
it was
that.
the only election ever that I went up to the voting booth and did not know who I was going to vote for.
How about it?
And people could say, well, you copped out. Well, maybe if I wasn't a registered independent, yeah, you could say that. But I voted for Ross Perot, I voted for Nader, I voted for many independents.
And the reason in the first 200 days Donald Trump has not been able to bring you to his side as somebody who's doing a good job as president
I can't
is.
get over his cabinet picks. I mean, he picks the fox in the hen house, the teacher, the woman. She's probably never been in a public school before. It's just one bad pick after the other. I thought he was going to change things. I mean, I didn't want to vote for, like you said, the same old, and I thought maybe Trump, but I just could not vote for that man. As much as I couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton either. It's just he said he was going to change things, and he's actually, the people he's put in charge of everything are worse than what they were the 2 or 3
He has more
Presidents before
turnover
him.
than McDonald's
Yeah.
does.
What's that tell you?
Okay, I want to try one question one more time and let you just think about it and then a succinct answer. Going back to his first 200 days as president, what's the one thing, good, bad, funny, or sad, that stands out in your mind? Okay, just it's going to be very quick and we'll go around. I'm going to start with Mary, end with David. Good, bad, funny, or sad?
Golfing.
Jared Kushner.
Russia.
Jared Kushner.
I'm sorry. I don't-
Open.
Russia.
Charlottesville.
Obamacare.
Dishonesty.
Healthcare reform.
Yes. And why did Jared Kushner come up for a couple people? Why?
He picked his son-in-law as an advisor, and I think he should have somebody independent of the family member to be his advisor.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's qualified.
Okay. Change. Go back to where we were going to talk about immigration, and what I'm doing here, and as part of work that I'm doing for Emory University in Atlanta, is they feel it's really important to have a dialogue on difficult conversations, those things that we tend to sort of push away rather than engage on. And so they said, come to a city like Pittsburgh with a lot of history that obviously has seen many good times, has gone through hard times, has seen a certain rebirth and all of this, and trying to understand what happened in terms of immigration and how they look at it. And I'm not going to go all the way back. I'm going to take the last 25 years or so to talk about it. And being honest with yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this issue to you? Let me just go around. David, give me a number. 10 means it's the issue I care most about. 1 would mean this is so far off in the distance I never even think about it. What number?
5.
Okay.
I'm at 5.
5.
7.
7.
8.
6.
8.
6.
7.
2.
7.
Okay, good. Now, give me a grade that you would grade yourself in terms of understanding the issue. So if I gave you a 20-minute essay on immigration, we talked about it, how would you do? How much do you really think you know about the issue versus having an opinion on the issue, which is important, but where you say, no, I really sort of understand immigration. What's your grade?
I'd say probably about a 7.
No. A to F.
Oh,
Right.
okay. I would say I'm a B.
Okay.
I give myself a B.
C.
B. B.
C plus.
D.
C.
C minus.
E.
D.
C.
Okay. So people feel, yeah, I'm pretty okay on it. Some people say not so good, but that's where you come. What's the immigration issue mean to you, Kathleen?
I think it's part. I mean, I work with people who are immigrants and refugees, so I feel like I know them, and I don't see why people are so afraid. And just feeling like looking at the whole issue, you can't just make it go away. There's so much that our economy is dependent upon from people who are here as undocumented immigrants. That it's a complicated issue, and you have to look at each side of it and plan down the line. Well, if we just said everyone had to go, well, then what is going to happen? Because right now they're filling jobs other people don't want.
Okay. Edwin?
Well, I mean, my father was an undocumented immigrant who later got citizenship, and we've sponsored a lot of my relatives to come into the country legally. So I have a personal connection with the idea of immigration.
Joyce?
I mean, I don't think there should be mass deportation, but I think there should be some accountability if someone did come here illegally, I don't see why that's okay, because it benefited them. Because, you know, maybe some guy murders his wife and that benefits him. She quit nagging, but that's not okay, you know. But if somebody came here illegally and now they have a good job, we're supposed to just say, oh, that's fine because they're nice. You know?
Charles.
You know, this is a touchy topic for me because I hadn't had any contact with any Mexicans until recently. And so I had my own opinions on them or whatnot. I hadn't met anybody.
Yeah.
My opinion completely changed because when you look at it, you have two different elements of all racial backgrounds. You have an element of people that are willing to do the right thing, follow the course of law, and then you have the criminal element. I can't demonize a whole people based on the criminal element. There's good people that fell into the illusion that we've been portraying to the world for years. America is a great place to live. This is the home of the free and the brave. We have freedoms over here. We have this, we have that. So we cannot blame them for wanting to come to a place that we engineered ourselves. So I believe that if you are a hardworking, honest person that's here in this country for years and have worked, I think that you should have a pathway to citizenship. The criminal element, I don't have no problem. Deport.
Right.
I agree. I mean, it's the whole, like Tony said earlier, there's legal immigration and illegal immigration. That is the issue. I agree. If someone's here, I don't know how they can do a case-by-case scenario. I mean, it would take more time than we'll be around this earth to go case-by-case every individual. So you've got to find a happy medium. I agree. I don't think mass deportation is the right thing, but they know who the thugs, the criminals, the ones who have done, they know everything about us. They know who's there. They know where they are. They can find them. Those are the ones, yes, fine, get them out. If they come back, I mean, that's the issue. They've been sent back, they come back. I don't know how to fix it. I just know something has to be fixed.
I think that you have a completely wrong idea of how illegal immigration works, because it's not people sneaking over a fence. It's people who are like here on a visitor visa who don't go home. I mean, it's not
I'm not saying it's the only way legal immigration happens.
Well, what I'm saying is that it's not like dogs and fences, and that's the way it's portrayed in the argument. But when you go to Market Square, half of those Eastern European waitresses that you get in Market Square are illegal aliens.
Yeah,
they are not there
to
to
go
work.
right to Mexico?
You know,
You're right, because it's just our thinking goes right to Mexico as opposed to
Tony, quickly.
I'm vice president of an organization representing effectively immigrants, recent immigrants. I have personally sponsored, through my business, 3 or 4 H-1Bs. I've had dealings with immigration attorneys, etc. And my heart goes out to all people that want to come here. It just needs to be done legally and organized. But mass deportations causes more carnage and destroys more than it gains. It just can't be a patent, however, that's okay. What we need to do at that, I don't know. That's why I rated myself as only, I believe, an 8. If I was a 10, I would know the answers, but it is not mass deportations.
Christina, anything you want to add in here?
I mean, again, people need to, now, for instance, so say somebody is over here on a sponsored visa. Now, what, did they get a job, and then, of course, they don't want to go back or what have you, but how did they get a job in the first place? Like, don't you have to have a social security number? Like, and why didn't they just, go to the Social Security office and try to obtain citizenship? I'm sure it's not that easy. I'm sure it's a long process, but...
I do know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Because they'll be rejected.
Is that right?
It's extremely difficult to immigrate to this country.
Yeah.
And extremely expensive. And as an employer, you won't believe how expensive it is to sponsor, and then the pay scale is unbelievable. So if you don't have special skills, if you don't have a PhD, and I mean literally, if you have a master's, you have a small chance of making it. If you have bachelor's degree, there's a lottery, and if you're just a skilled worker, boy, I'll tell you, it's extremely difficult. So I think the answer is very simply the vast majority, not majority, vast majority would be unable to do it the legal way, if you will.
Russell, let me get your point of view, and then I'm going to throw out a question.
Well, I've hired landscaping people that have Mexicans working, and I will say they are very diligent, hardworking employees. I have no problem with, immigrants as long as they're peaceful and law-abiding. But if they're a criminal, I fully support that they should be deported. But proving that is probably pretty difficult to do.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Finish this sentence. I'm going to read you a sentence and let you. To me, fixing the immigration system means what goes in the blank. To me, fixing the immigration system means
Vast overhaul of the process.
Job loss.
Letting people stay, getting it all out in the open.
Christina.
Possibly a better economy.
Okay, fixing the immigration system means what, Russell?
I think a very difficult process to vet it.
An easier to understand way to be processed through the system.
Brian?
Fixing the system to make it easier for law-abiding citizens to stay or come in.
Tony?
Bringing together a brain trust of economists, human rights activists, social workers, so this is done properly on a 360-degree basis.
Law enforcement people brought into it or not?
That would be at the end.
Okay. Edwin?
I believe in sponsorship.
Okay. Joyce?
Finding a way to adequately deal with people that are here illegally now in a way that's fair to them, but doesn't look over the people that went through the process properly.
Charles?
It means that we've been able to cut the red tape and bureaucracy and have provided an easy path for citizenship in America.
Mm-hmm. David?
Changing the whole system, like others have said. The whole system needs to be revamped.
Yeah, what prevents us from doing this? Why can't we do it?
Try to get Congress to do something like that.
Crossing party lines again?
Crossing party lines again. Bipartisan politics.
Bureaucracies always defend themselves.
It just comes to mind of, should we go back in our history and see what worked? We had thousands and thousands of immigrants come through Ellis Island, by the thousands. And we were able to process them and give them a quick path to citizenship. What did we stop doing? It's not what we're doing now. We have made this into almost everything that we see now into a capitalist money-making or money, just stealing the money. It turned into something else. How did we process the thousands of immigrants that came through this country? We all came here one way or another as immigrants, by the thousands. When we had Manifest Destiny, we wanted people to come and fill the land. What was the policies then?
I think there's a lot bigger issues, though, today.
We've created a bigger issue
Right,
by
but
adding
we didn't
bureaucracy.
there wasn't terrorism. There wasn't other things that we had to think about, okay, why is this person coming here? Why do they want to come here? Back then, yes, we were the land of opportunity. There were jobs galore. We don't have that now. Not necessarily jobs galore. Life was going to be better here where they were. And that's why we want immigration, or why we want people to come to this country. But there's a lot more to worry about now with where are they going to be? Where are the areas that they can go to? the whole thing, you used to have how many families live in one house. Nobody's going to do that anymore. Or if somebody tries to do that in a neighborhood, police are going to be called. You've got 17 families living in this house. Back then,
Let me see if I can move the conversation along by getting you to turn to the next page in your guide. And what I always find in talking about immigration is everyone wants to develop a method of reducing illegal immigration and securing our borders. There's no disagreement with that. I don't think is there any that we want to reduce illegal immigration and indeed secure the borders. But then the question, as you've nicely framed it, really comes down to what do we do now with 11 million people who are indeed undocumented, and which way should the government go? So I've given you sort of two different priorities. They're not perfectly aligned, but the purpose is to say, which way should we turn? And if you would just read the two, circle the one that you find yourself closer to, and maybe write a sentence below about why you feel that way. And this will count for 25% of your final grade. Okay, I want to go around the table. I'll start in a random spot. I'll start with Christina, and give me whether you're A or B, and sort of why is this closest to your point of view? Why do you think this makes the most sense? Okay. Christina?
I chose B.
Yep.
And just simply, I didn't write a sentence. I just basically say that it's probably the most humane way of doing things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Russell.
I chose B, and my comment is to give those people an opportunity to become citizens eventually.
I chose priority B. I find that priority A is like a punishment reinforcement. We're going to round everybody up like a cat and mouse game, whereas priority B was a reward reinforcement. You know, keep your record clean and come see us and you'll get status.
Fine.
I also picked B. I said it's a start. I don't think it's the best solution. If they want to come here and they want to serve in our military, so it's a start.
Okay.
I think they should. If they're going to be a citizen, then okay. Well, I'm still seeing this as which they should be citizens. This is saying not citizenship.
Right.
So, like I said, it's a start.
Okay, and you prefer to go in that direction?
Yeah, I agree. Rounding up, you're going to create chaos, and it's going to be ugly.
Tony?
I picked B, and I agree, but I find it interesting that terrorism or vetting for terrorism is not mentioned in either A or B, and that needs to be done too. And terrorism is not criminal activity; it supersedes criminal activity. It's a degree beyond. The political, the judicial remedies are different, so it's not criminal activity. It's not in here.
Okay, good. Edwin?
I chose B because I felt that to try to document all undocumented people is A, expensive, and B, it's not giving them an opportunity in the land of opportunity.
Joyce?
I picked B.
Why?
I didn't really like either one of them, so I disliked the least.
And if I allowed you to pick something you'd want, what would it be?
Well, I would still want some sort of penalty for having come here illegally, like some fine or something.
How many agree I want some fine for people who are here illegally? We've got a couple people raising
They don't have the
their hand.
money to pay for it anyway.
Okay, Charles.
I picked priority B. I guess I'm on this kick, you know. I mean, in America, we're supposed to be the good guys.
And David.
I picked B, and my statement is we need to figure out a way to allow these people to come, but you also have to look at the economic cost of that. You know, the economic cost of rounding everyone up. Who are we? Are we having those $10 an hour people running around picking those people up, or are we having $30, $40 an hour people doing it? We have to get away from the land of opportunity, meaning that you can come across the border and you can go to a hospital and have your child, and then that child is automatically a citizen, and then that child gets all kinds of social services, which those are non-sustainable programs that we have right now. And so we can't keep advertising and promoting that.
Okay, good. Mary.
I picked B, and I just think that we should find a way to make these undocumented workers documented workers and allow them to pay taxes.
Absolutely.
I picked B too, but I think letting them in gets them in the country, so it not only gives somebody else a chance to vet them, it gives them a chance to vet themselves too. So maybe like a probation.
Kathleen.
I picked B. It seemed more reasonable and realistic, and you're getting the benefits of the economy and society. But also, I feel like this is the compromise for people who are upset that they were here illegal in the first place. Well, they're not getting citizenship, so that's it. You know, they still get to pay taxes, but they don't get those other perks. So that's probably as much as is realistic, I think, to expect out of it.
And would anybody like to say, I'm going to move on to another element, would anybody like to say anything else about immigration and how we're dealing with undocumented residents here? Tony?
It's not been mentioned, but should be said. Feel free to research this, that immigrants on a worldwide basis, generally speaking, are fuel for the fire for all the countries' economies.
Absolutely.
Immigrants accelerate an economy, done properly, even done somewhat improperly. Done horribly, I can't speak to that.
But, okay, how many agree with what Tony says? That
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm a
Okay.
capitalist at heart.
Okay. So let me then go on to President Trump for a minute. And obviously one of his central premises of his campaign or promises was to build a 2,000-mile wall along the U.S.-Mexican border. How many people favored the idea? I know that we talked to you before. Somebody said,
There's already a wall there.
well, there's some in some
Yeah,
parts.
some places.
How many people are in favor of that? I think several of you said that you thought.
I was torn.
Okay, and
Yeah,
and anybody else? And the reason you're in favor of it?
We need to do something to try to help the problem. I agree, Edwin. They're not just all from Mexico, but that is where a majority of them illegally coming in here that are coming in for the wrong reason. So it sounded like an opportunity, something to help, because we can't hire enough Border Patrol agents. And yes, you don't run into the problem with it. If you say with the tunneling system, they're going to find ways. It's maybe a stopgap.
And Christina?
I mean, when the idea of the wall was mentioned, even in the election, I looked at it as a proverbial wall, not a literal wall,
No.
and a proverbial wall being, setting in stone more or less laws and rules and regulations. So maybe not a literal wall, but a proverbial wall would be ideal, if that makes sense.
Okay. Hey, Bart, did you want to add something in on the wall?
Nothing.
Okay. If it's a bad idea, why is it a bad idea, Mary?
It just harkens back to the Berlin Wall and trying to separate a city. In this case, trying to separate a country. It was unsuccessful then. I think it's just a pie in the sky, ridiculous concept to try and build a wall between two countries to stop people from coming over.
Charles?
You know, the funny thing is that I've been at many barbecues, the way before Trump brought this up, where the idea of a wall came up. The problem is the way to get around the wall is to go around it. You know, you got the Gulf of Mexico there, you got California right around the corner. What are you blocking? You're not blocking people. You know, we put up fences and walls to keep our animals in. You know, a human being is wise enough to go around a wall or over a wall, under a wall. It's not going to stop the problem. And the problem that I really have with this is that I just cannot believe that millions of Americans fell for the idea of a wall and that Mexico was really going to pay for it. It's absurdity in its fullest extent in my mind for him to promise that, and then, I mean, the reality of it isn't true.
Tony?
Greatest wall ever built was the Great Wall of China. It at first rebuffed the Mongols, and then they bribed a gatekeeper and got right in. I'm more of a subscriber to the Monroe Doctrine, where our president drew a circle around the Americas and said we are a unit and that we should cooperate with each other. Mexico is a great, not our greatest, because that would be China, a great trading partner, a very friendly neighbor. Yep, there's some flies in the ointment, and that needs to be cured. But this is a time of, because of the geopolitical threats on a worldwide basis, we need to close ranks and look at our similarities and common interests instead of building a wall.
How many people say Tony's right? We should build our relationship with Mexico rather than necessarily figure out that it should be built around a wall. In other words, we need more cooperation versus building a wall. Cooperation. Most
Education,
everybody.
really.
Education, okay.
We need more education.
And the other thing is, how many people know about sanctuary cities? Sanctuary cities, how many people? A little, not too much in some cases. Does anybody know what President Trump's position is on sanctuary cities?
He wants to pull federal funding from those cities that are sanctuaries. Essentially harboring a criminal is what you're doing, and so they want to pull federal funds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be the arbiter of the perfect definition, but if you'd say sanctuary cities really says we're going to have limited cooperation with the federal immigration law, and in terms of jails, arrests, investigation of citizenship statutes, etc. And there's a major debate that's going on at this stage of the game around sanctuary cities. New York, Chicago, Pittsburgh's a sanctuary city, I believe.
Yes,
is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And do you favor or oppose doing something about sanctuary cities? Do you have a point of view? Do you care?
I have a point of view on that. I mean, if you're a mayor of a city and you see this movement to come into your city and remove people by the thousands, you're going to have unrest. You're going to have riots. You're going to have people in the street fighting against these things. There's a documentary on the little child that was taken from his mom, or maybe they wanted him to go back to Cuba. I'm not familiar with the story.
Gonzalez.
You know, just one child being ripped out of their parents' household created a huge firestorm, political ramifications. Imagine that happened on a massive basis. So, you know, if you have a sanctuary city, the last thing you want is immigration coming through your city with military gear and pulling residents out of the house. And so I think that, I mean, for crying out loud, in California they passed legislation to make marijuana illegal.
Yeah.
And it's against the federal rules. I mean, states have a right and cities have a right to decide for themselves.
Okay, let me hear from Joyce on this. Sanctuary cities, what do you think?
I don't know too much about it. I just think they should vet incoming immigrants instead of just sort of a blanket policy like the doors open to anybody, but I'm not really that familiar with specifically the rules on it.
Yeah, Christina?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super familiar with that, but again, I mean, I wouldn't want to see, you know, a large, massive, you know, Army, National Guard, you know, coming into a city and taking thousands of people away from their loved ones, and that's just absurd.
Russell?
I have really not a lot of information or background on that. So.
Okay. And essentially what Donald Trump has proposed is obviously taking away federal funding if you happen to be one of these cities, so that essentially, obviously, there's an economic cost. Would anybody be in favor of that approach as a way of dealing with sanctuary cities?
I think it sends the wrong message for the federal government. I think we've all discussed throughout the evening here, there needs to be more dialogue. These issues are super complicated and complex. And to just have the military is never going to come in and take people from their homes and just lynch them out. It's not going to happen. You know, the federal government, it's a bad position to just kind of start saying, well, if you, Mr. City, do this wrong, we're going to pull all our funding from you. It just sends a bad message.
Edwin?
But see, my understanding of a sanctuary city is this, is that Donald Trump put an executive order that says that every state and municipal police person was responsible to act as an immigration officer. So the definition of a sanctuary city is our policemen, that's not one of their responsibilities. That's not what they're going to be doing. So it's a refusal to be deputized by Donald Trump to be an immigration officer.
Okay, good.
So when you take away federal funding, he's in a weird way, spending your state and municipal funds to act as immigration people. So what the money is being spent, whether you've decided to be a sanctuary city or not being a sanctuary city. The stick in this case is that, okay, you lose money by not having your police work overtime looking at people's IDs and papers everywhere.
See, but the problem is that this is another one of Trump's oopsies, because he's sitting here making these declarations, but you have to remember that we have representatives and senators that aren't going to stand for that. He's just causing more division between. He doesn't have the power to just stroke a pen and say, "Hey, I'm cutting off all the money to Pittsburgh."
Yes, he does.
He doesn't.
Executive action.
He can make an executive action, but everything has to pass through Congress when it comes to writing a check. He cannot just cut off money. They have to have a budget. They have budget discussions. They have more budget discussions. We see he's talking about shutting down the government. There's ways around that. We've seen it before. He cannot pull the purse string and just say, I'm cutting off this money. He's going to have massive opposition to that.
Okay, so before we cut off our discussion, let me have you turn to handout D. And that is, okay, going forward on immigration, how do we approach it, where do we go from here, etc. And there are a whole series of pieces of legislations and ideas. And I've taken about 8 or 9 of them and put them down. And for each of these, if you would tell me, I think it's a step in the right direction, I think it's a step in the wrong direction, or just feel neutral, don't know about it. So these are different things that are being proposed, that has been talked about. There is now legislation which has obviously been passed, but it is certainly a period where there's going to be some proposals made, and they're going to try and get an immigration bill through the Congress, and what the compromises are or what happens. I'd just be interested in your thoughts. And by the way, if you say, I don't know enough, you can just put it down as neutral or something that you don't know. But each of these ideas, do they seem like good ideas or bad ideas?
Question, what is DACA?
Yes, that has to do with, it's called DACA, and it has to do with children of immigrants who
are
arrived
born
here.
here.
Yes, who
Okay.
are born here. And thank you very much.
Could you also explain D, please? D, letter D.
Yes. Currently, as Edwin said, he basically said a member of the family comes, and then they try and get as many of their relatives to become citizens. And this is saying, no, it has to be reduced to spouses and to minors, children.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody ready?
No.
Turn your paper over so it's flat upside down. Just flip it over. Let me just ask you, what do you want the immigration to be like? What would be best for America? Just sort of, instead of saying I like this, I didn't like that, here's what I'd like immigration to be like in America. Finish the sentence, Erica.
I would like, well, like this is, I guess, just a pie in the sky dream, but for it to be self-limiting in some ways, so that all the people who want to come here can, and that it's not just more and more want to come, or it's so difficult that no one even wants to come, and we're less than we even need, but just the right number of people want to come, and they all can.
Okay.
That's what
Russell,
I want.
looking ahead,
So Rosie.
what do you, I mean, because you talked about immigration, what do you think it should be? What would you like it to
I
be?
think to provide an opportunity for those immigrants that want to come to America and work and support the economy, and also at the same time to keep those immigrants out that could cause disruption to the economy, be it drug trade, terrorism, whatever.
Do you want less immigration, more immigration, same immigration?
I'd say the
tighter?
same.
Okay.
I'd say just a vetting process to differentiate between those immigrants that will provide, the American way, or keep those out that are going to be disruptive to the population.
Christina.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, the same thing. I mean, there's got to be a way to, I guess, vet people, but, I mean, by that token, we'd have to vet many Americans as well, but, just, I guess, sort of streamline applications and things like that.
Okay, remember, you've read all these ideas, and you can refer to it. Kathleen, what do you want?
I like Erica's dream, but I think too in the short term, I think we need to change attitudes on both sides. That for us who are already here, to stop buying in and believing the stereotypes, but to really start looking at the facts too. And then for the people who are already here, who may have come illegally, I feel like we just gotta wipe the slate clean. Let's move forward. It's kind of beating a dead horse. For the people who have not yet come, who want to come, we should make that fair and easy and transparent, and I mean, I trust our vetting process.
Okay, I got to move forward a little more quickly. Part.
Instead of how it should be, give us your tire, your poor, your huddle masses, it seems like it's give us your engineers, doctors, and
Okay, so you would make it upscale immigration, and what about
some.
the...
Not totally. It can't be totally. But
Okay. Mary?
I think more stringent vetting process, against terroristic type behaviors, but also, they have to agree to become contributing members of society. It can't be, I see a lot of churches and synagogues bring people in and they're on welfare, and that's not right.
Okay.
Simplify the system. The economic boom of immigration is enormous. From the food they eat, the cars they drive, the gasoline, the houses they rent and buy, and so on and so forth. It's massive.
Yeah.
We can't just get rid of it. But like everyone's been saying, we need to simplify the system to allow them to come in here legally with checks and balances in place.
Okay. I want to go very quickly. Last quick answer. Is there something you felt off the first page, idea, something that says concretely what you'd like to see done?
I would like to see a path for citizenship for law-abiding citizens that are here. I think we should end social programs for immigration. I mean, nobody gave me a break. And an easier path to citizenship.
Joyce?
Yeah, I think there should be vetting. I don't know why everybody says it should be easy, because I don't think it should be easy. I think the vetting process should be very thorough, and if it takes 2 or 3 years on a waiting list to get here, that's fine with me. I don't see why it should be easy.
Good. Edwin?
We have a United States citizenship test, so I don't see that there should be a problem for people to be more Americanized pre-applying to come to America. And that way they get used to the idea of the culture and the ideas of the principles of America.
Tony?
Streamline, speed up the process for entrance into the company, make it even-handed, not just PhDs, but we must not relax standards on vetting for terrorism.
Brian?
I'd like to see it be a tough process. I think the number of immigrants allowed in needs to be cut until this is fixed. And I agree with them not automatically being allowed for our social programs.
Okay. If there were one message you could deliver to Donald Trump on immigration, or let's say the Congress, what would the message be? Just anybody. Here's my message to Congress.
no wall.
No wall.
Talk to each other.
Talk to each other.
Listen to each other.
Immigration.
Simplify.
Okay.
Learn the financial realities of immigration.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Check your bias.
What?
Check your bias.
Okay. Check your bias.
I would tell them to stay out of it.
It's tough to do. So let me bring around the last question, which is, I came here because as I said, got great respect for Pittsburgh. I think it's a fabulous city. It sort of represents what I think is how America re-energizes and returns to the things that are important. And I think somehow this city has done a great job on that front. Having said that, I've got to admit, I came into this room thinking, boy, there are going to be a lot of fireworks. You know, we've got half of you that are Trump voters, half of you who voted for Clinton or somebody else. And what we ended up with is a really civil conversation, and one that was pointing fingers in both directions, not only at at what you saw wrong, but the way in which you looked at your own party and your own president in the case of Republicans. Why did it happen? We have so much bickering and we have so little unity in America. Why could you do it in this room? What allowed this to happen? What does it tell us about the way in which we should be talking to one another, governing, etc.?
There's no lobbyists in this room.
Okay?
That's why.
And so what you're saying is what?
That our government's bought and sold before those things taken place.
Okay, good.
When you have, 50 lobbyists for
Yeah.
every single congressman? I mean, that's
Right. And so, what else? Yeah, go ahead, Charles.
I really think it's because of where we live and the area where we live. I mean, we have a still working background. We're hardworking. I don't think that we see. I mean, I've been to other cities, Chicago, New York. I could still walk down through Bloomfield and I could say hi and people are still saying hi back. When I'm in Philadelphia, when I go there periodically, it's an unfriendly city. And I think that we've learned to get along with each other. It's almost like we can have a conversation and disagree with each other without throwing stuff across the table here in Pittsburgh. And I really do believe that because I've seen interactions in other cities.
We've been taught respect.
Yeah.
We've been taught respect.
And do you think respect has gone away in America? I mean, because you can really feel the raw edge in America when you're out there. What were we able to achieve here and why? Because, Russell, you didn't sort of just run to the ramparts and say, I voted for Trump and Trump's my man and, Joyce, you're an idiot. How you ever voted for Hillary, I never understand. You may have thought it. Say, what is it that, made this room work into a conversation?
I think it was you. You didn't let it get out of hand. You didn't pit the one person against the other person.
I wanted to, David, but I wasn't able to.
All we were doing is voicing our opinions.
Right. I think it's the freedom you have to voice your opinion and how you feel about certain issues. And I mean, am I going to attack Joyce because maybe she didn't vote for Trump? No. I mean, each person has their individual nature and their thought process and how they feel about things. And we have the freedom to express it, whether it's agreed upon by the other members, so be it. But we're not going to sit here and fisticuffs over it.
But every day I turn on Fox and I turn on MSNBC and CNN, and you just hear this, and I'm just wondering why here and why can you talk about Kathleen?
I think in this room, we're all walking out with money. That's all it was. Like, there's nothing on the line for us here to speak our opinion. We're not trying to get ratings. We're not trying to get an unequal sum of money. It's just a level playing field, so there's nothing really at stake.
But it is an interesting topic because if you look at people that talk about these hotbed topics, it gets heated.
Sure.
Because people were so emotionally tied to Trump, or they were so emotionally tied to Hillary Clinton, that when you put them in the room together, it was automatic friction. And I think that because we're a metropolitan area, but we're small, we're a more friendlier town. I think it's just the demographic of where we live. Like in Philadelphia, I'm sure there would have been mudslinging because people are so
angry.
I don't know about anybody else in this room, but we had dinner at the same time every night. We cut our grass every Saturday. We're like, we're still
a lot of family values.
We're 10 years behind Philadelphia in terms of mentality.
Yep.
And I think that's what makes this region unique.
We're lovers, not haters.
I gotta be careful because I'm gonna have to go to Philadelphia soon. Final question that I just want to ask the people who voted for Trump, and that is, okay, he's 200 days in. He had your vote. Can he get it back? Has he lost your respect? Is this just a little bit of disappointment, or is it something deeper?
Wow, he's going to have to really get cranking. I mean, this isn't the seventh inning stretch, but he really needs to get educated and go to town and start rolling in the direction that I voted for him for.
Which is?
Which is, I want him to get the economy rolling. I want him to make America great again. I want to pound our chest when we go overseas because we're happy and enthusiastic that we're Americans.
Tony.
I hope and I pray that he will make a paradigm shift. It's not likely, but it's like hoping that the pilot of your plane has a heart attack because you don't like him. I mean, he is our president until and if he gets impeached. So he's trending really the wrong way for quite a long period of time, but possibly he could have a epiphany and change, and I hope he does.
He hasn't lost my vote. I wouldn't change my vote, but I hope he makes changes in himself to right the ship.
And it's about him personally and who he is. Okay. Russell.
I think it's early in his tenure presidency. I think there's an easy water out there that has sort of created some concern, but I think it's early in his presidency, and let's hope that he will make America great, which was his platform.
Christina.
Yeah, I mean, again, hopefully, maybe, I saw him on the TV today with the hurricane, and I thought he's out there looking at everything. Maybe it'll give him some sort of humanization again, and maybe bring him back to, reality of this is people's lives, and, and even like seeing people come together for that instance, and just maybe he can learn to take advice from that perspective and come together with Congress and try to work together.
Well, I want to thank you on the part of Emory University for joining me, and this is the first one that we've had colloquially. You were marvelous. You gave us great insights and great ideas, come from all parts of this great area and from different parts of the country. So thank you ever so much, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.